Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining today for our Beach Connection session. I think this is our fourth Beach Connection session. We're really happy to have you all here. If you have not seen me already, which I recognize some names from parent orientation, I'm Nina Luxon. I'm the program coordinator for new student and family programs. I mainly work with parents and families all throughout the summer and throughout the academic year. So you'll see quite a lot of me. If you are watching this back on the YouTube channel, we're going to try to answer some questions for you all with our student housing team who is with us. They'll be answering some questions about living on campus and the process for that. A lot of folks are parents of incoming students, so we're excited to share some of those things. We'll start with a presentation from student housing, and then at the very end, we will do a live Q&A for anybody who has questions. Throughout today's presentation, if you do have any questions, please look at the bottom of your screen, and on the bottom you will see a chiclet that says Q&A. Please insert your questions into the Q&A box. That will be the best way for us to track any of your questions. We are not going to be monitoring the chat boxes frequently. So if you have questions, please submit them in the Q&A, and we will try our best to answer them throughout the presentation or at the very end if it is a question that we think would be best answered live. The last point is that we really ask guests to remain muted throughout the duration of this webinar to minimize distraction and to just easily keep track of questions. So with that, I will hand it off to our student housing team, Rashawn and Sadai, who will be answering questions, but Rashawn will be presenting and I will be here if you need any support. So thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rashawn Jayasinger. I'm the Housing Office Occupancy Analyst, aka another version of saying office manager. Sari is my colleague who's also in the same position, so we trade off on when we need to get things done. So let me present to you our presentation about housing, and we'll go from there with some questions. That's not turned. All right. So everybody can see my screen. We're going to go.
Yes.
So first off, one of the new things that we have happened this year is we've changed our name from Housing and Residential Life to Student Housing to be more encompassing of everything that we do. So just keep that in mind. We're now Student Housing. About us, we have roughly 27 physical buildings. And that is, sorry, something is getting in my way there. Okay. Let's try this again. We're responsible for 27 physical buildings, which encompasses 3 villages, Hillside, Parkside, and Beachside Village. Hillside and Parkside are on the main part of campus, and Beachside is just 1 mile west as a satellite campus, 1 mile west from the campus. Shuttle services and everything are available for those students who are living there and traveling to campus. There are 24 buildings that house about over 1,800 rooms, which comes out to about 3,700 bed spaces for students. That is including our newest building that's being finished up this summer to be ready for fall. We do not have a housing requirement for any students in the university, and we do not have a parking restriction for first-time freshmen that are living in housing. So any of that kind of information that you might find on the website, it's old, it's outdated. Know from this video that there is no restriction to students living in housing or parking restrictions for that matter. We have 3 dining halls, each area. Students can go to any of those dining halls, whichever they feel like is the menu they choose to eat for that meal. There's a 5-week cycle, and each week is different from each one. So there's those options. It is managed by our campus Beach Shops Dining Services, who also manage the bookstore and everything else. So our dining facility is staffed by them, but we maintain the physical beings. Our staffing is large in the sense that we have one main executive director, a director of Res Life, three, 1 to 2 assistant directors, 7 area coordinators who are in charge of each village area. The villages are split into 2 in terms of location wise, but 3 of each area coordinators. And then we have residential life coordinators who are just underneath that, help with programming and monitoring, leading the RAs. We have 104 resident assistants who will be who are students who live in the halls and help to answer questions or help mitigate any circumstances, um, mediate things like that. And then we have a large variation of student assistants, which we call desk assistants, who work our service centers, which is where they can ask for questions, parents wanting to get tours when we're doing tour season, as well as mail service and anything else. So I mentioned our residential dining hall is managed by Beach Shops, which is on campus. They're an auxiliary enterprise, sorry, enterprise. Um, they offer, as part of our housing agreement with how with the students, is 3 meal plans. We have a 10 meal plan, which is basically 10 meals a week. The 210 block plan, which is a declining meal plan, so it averages about 13 meals. You get in the very beginning each semester 210 meals. And then there's the highest one, which is the 19 meal plan, which covers 19 meals a week, which is all the meals that we serve, because we serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner Monday through Friday, and brunch and dinner on Saturdays and Sundays. So part of being in the residence hall is not just, a roof over your head and a bed and chairs and desk and all that and food to be met. We do have programs which are residential life staff, which includes the RAs, the coordinators, um, actively trying to get students involved and be more aware of anything that they could be aware of. So teaching them outside of the classroom is basically what they're learning. The beach journey is what they are using as their residential curriculum. It helps with being and belonging, programs that includes essential life skills, um, things with academic engagement. Some of the thematic communities will help try to help students, be more engaged in community as well as any of those academic portions. Cultural competency and holistic wellness. We're all about making sure the student is well, as well as they're able to be aware that we are there for them, as well as resources for any part of the campus to direct them to. Um, I'm not going to go over the whole slide, but you'll be able to see it that we have bulletin boards, we have social media, we have the text messaging as well as emails that we communicate anything that updates going on. If it's coming from CSULB housing email, that's mainly being sent from us at the main office, administration's office, to regards the whole public of the students. So they've already probably seen some emails about you've been confirmed housing, you're on the wait list in housing. Upcoming is the roommate selection, and in a couple of weeks will be the room selection process. So those emails are coming from us. Residential aspects will come from the residential life emails. So I had earlier mentioned thematic communities. We actually have 6 thematic communities, 2 of them in Parkside Village, which is the Black Pan-African Scholars Program, and then the First Gen programs. And those are exactly what those students are interested in, as well, or partake or consider as part of that community. They can put that as a preference for their housing application. There are about 108 spaces in each of those buildings. So the 108 students will be in the full committee at that point. The other ones are located in Hillside Village. We have International House, we try to get the international students together with domestic students. Sometimes it will just be more international students, but there are a variety of cultures. We got some from the Asian countries, we got some from the Samoan countries, European countries, etc. Even the um, Western area, Eastern areas, Middle East, and stuff like that. Um, then our other community is the Pride House, which houses any student who is comfortable in it and supporters, as well as part of those communities. Those are all there for that. Transfer community is anyone who's transferring to the university that wants to be in it. So our older students who have been in juniors, sophomores, and even graduates. This will be in a new location. From past years has been at Beachside. This year will be at Los Alamitos on the first two floors. And across from there in Los Cerritos is the University of Honors program. Students who want to be in the honors program would apply through the honors, and then they communicate with us that they're getting into housing. So we try to put them in the same community as well. So some things that you probably already learned if you looked at our website and things. Biggest thing is that our beachside village, which is specific in Atlantic Hall, will now be triple rooms. And then, of course, if you've been on campus or seen some videos and stuff, you'll see that we have a new hall, La Playa Hall, which is comprised of three structures, Tides, Palms, and Shores building, which are interconnected by bridgeway walkways. So that's our new hall that is open up to open on fall of 2026. So students are being confirmed for spaces. That includes those spaces. So yeah, so we're working hard and being on top of the contractors and everything to make sure that everything's in line to get ready for move in. Prices can be found on our website under housing rates in terms of things, but this is the general quick snapshot of everything going on. The triple rooms, the doubles, the so we have three-tier kind of process in terms of rates. We have the standard, which is basically your room, bed, everything is available, electricity, water, all that is taken care of. Then we go up to a plus. The plus buildings have AC in the building, which is centrally controlled by the building atmosphere environment. And then they also have shared kitchens. I will mention that in the standard areas outside of Beachside, we do have shared kitchens in the service centers for those other students in those buildings as well. Not specifically in the building, but it is in the service center to be able to use. Um, there's talk and stuff for Beachside to have that soon, but that takes some time. Our premium is basically the newest buildings. Parkside North was new about relatively new about 4 or 5 years ago, 5 years ago, and La Playa, of course, will be new this year. Those have all the amenities I mentioned before of the standards and plus. They have air conditioning that's controlled by the students in the room. They have multiple lounges and they have multiple study areas as well as a kitchen within the building um, to have access to. And these are shared kitchens. So it is very important that students are mindful of the popular allergies that students may have. And of course, those students already know to be careful, but peanut allergies and things like that, to be mindful of that. And then, so those are our biggest tiers and three tiers. And then, of course, we have the types of room changes. The housing contract is room and meal together. So once you're signed in for housing, you have a meal plan. You have to have a meal plan as part of our contracting with beach shops as well as students need to eat. There's no place for them to cook outside of the shared kitchens, and sometimes those are going to be full by other students. For those of you that are not in housing or are still looking for housing stuff, I will say that we are still taking applications for housing. Students who apply at this point will be automatically placed on the wait list, and then we'll go from those who cancel to pull people off the wait list. We do have a off-campus housing resource, which is on our website, which you can find under resources, and then click on the off-campus option. So this is a third-party vendor that has reached out with us and have put in people who are requesting for a roommate or have a listing to share or a room to share in a house, things like that. So we don't do the vetting. That is everything that the company does, as well as being due diligent on your end to make sure you ask questions appropriately. We do have an off-campus housing coordinator who, if you're wondering what kind of questions or concerns you have, you can reach out to our office and ask for some assistance on that. So here's our website, housing@csulb.edu. Should be the correct one. If not, if you just put in the Cal State Long Beach um, search engine housing or student housing, it should pop up to our website. Email address, our Facebook account, and our Instagram. Our Instagram is run by our students, a part-time student staff, as well as our assistant director, and they get posted a lot to make sure communication is going out there, new things and stuff like that. So if you're ever wondering what's going on in housing, it's great to look at that, or even on our Facebook page. If you have questions about housing application process, reach out to Sari or me, or ask mainly at our front office desk. They are taught and told basic information. Of course, if you have something specific that's regarding to a specific need or whatever, that's when you would need to ask to reach out to us. Any student who's needing accommodations or has a service or emotional support animal would need to go through contact through the BMAC, which is our Murphy Access Center for Disability Services, and fill out a form, especially if they're in housing and stuff. And then our thematic communities, if there's questions about that, our assistant director, Hannah Elliott, would be the one to reach out to. That's pretty much it for the presentation. If you have any questions, I know Sari has been working on some and answering, but so yeah. So I know there was a question in the chat that I see about the standard rooms having air conditioning units. Um, there is no talk about that in the future. However, they are do have circular fans in each of the rooms, and the lobby areas have air conditioning. So that in all the buildings. So that's where we have been putting um, that's what's going on with there. To put AC units in each one is a little bit more of a hardship on our electrical panels and everything, and as well as to convert a building into having AC in the building is going to be a lot more cost than we need to have. So, as a reminder, please make sure you put your questions in the Q&A. I will answer the ones that are already posted on the chat, the first three that we see. So make sure you put it in the Q&A and not the chat. There should be a button on the bottom that says Q&A, and that's where you want to put your questions. So, if you didn't get your top choice or your preference and stuff, there will be after room-based selection a room type waitlist. Information about that will go out when we're ready for that. There's no guarantee, of course, that the changes will happen, but we will try to look at those and make the changes if we're able to change prior to move in. So that way you're not having to move twice, as well as we're also still dealing with students on the wait list that you're trying to get in housing. So we want to make sure we're being fair to every student that's in requesting housing. Um, the housing fees are going to be due. So the housing fees are due beginning of each month, for in fall, for in spring. Those dates are located on our website under important dates. But it's September, February, excuse me, September, October, November, December, and then February, March, April, and May. Those charges will go in the beginning of the semester, so you won't see the fall semester charges until close to the first, second week of August. Campus Services puts them in, and then financial aid kicks in. So keep in mind that if you are getting financial aid, going towards your tuition and stuff first, and then any remaining will go towards your housing if you have housing. If it's over the amount of what's due, then the money will come to the student in the beginning of the semester. If it's under the amount that's due, then paying out of pocket would be wherever that got cut off, and that's their due date at that point. So keep a look at that. The student can reach out to us during the school year if there's questions and not understanding how the billing is going. Um,
Also, hi y'all. I just want to remind everybody, I keep seeing people post questions in the chat. We are not monitoring the chat for questions. There is a Q&A button at the bottom. Please submit your questions to the Q&A. We keep seeing people submit to the chat and it needs to be to the Q&A. Thank you.
I do know we have another beach connection in regards to move-in and everything later in the summer, but there are going to be some items. Um, Basically, a lot of things can be brought, but however, a lava lamp or a halogen lamp, things like that, are not going to be allowed. Toaster ovens, especially with the heating mechanism being visible or close to proximity of cedar. Our fire marshal is very particular and very making sure that the safety of the students is foremost. So keep those things in mind in terms of what you're trying to bring and things like that. Students have brought, their own small TV, computers, headphones, all gadgets like that. Um, and then of course cars and things like that. We will say though that electronic skateboards, e-bikes, are not allowed in the halls, because uh, if you have research, charging batteries and electrical outlets, you'll see that there has been some concerns of fire happening, causing fires and stuff. And so we don't want that in the halls for the safety of the students as well as themselves. So, charging them or bringing them into the halls is not allowed. Um, so just keep that in mind.
I'm seeing quite a few questions in the Q&A. Rashawn, I'm not sure how you want to.
Okay. I kind of scrolling through and picking the ones that are very important to answer. So, but
Perfect.
I do believe that Sari is attaching or responding to the Q&A questions. So please make sure you're doing that in the Q&A. So room changes and everything are on hold. We're not doing any room changes because we're trying to make sure everything is in order. Everybody gets signed in and their charges are appropriately done. Um, Down the road, if there's a need or there's a concern, the students can reach out to their RA and their AC about their concerns that they're having in their room or roommates or neighbors and stuff, and they'll mediate. Um, we're planning to be full, so room changes is not going to be an easy thing to do. And if you keep in mind, we're trying to make the students learn how to navigate those situations, because if they were in an apartment and they had an issue with their neighbor, they're not going to be able to move because they're in a contract. So we'll help with those mediations and aspects like that. Um, is there anything else? What's it? Oh,
You can mark mine as completed.
it's not coming up. Let's see here. Yeah, my Q&A says just welcome. Okay. So sorry, I'm having a side conversation with, sorry, making sure the Q&A questions are, but for some reason it's not loading up on my end, but she's catching it and stuff. Let me see what else can I say. So if you don't know, move-in day is August 20th and August 21st. Move-in information will be starting to come out after room selection process, which that one is in 2 weeks. Students will be getting emails about that in a week or so. But for move-in, they will be based on a time block as well as by building. So not all buildings are moving in on the 20th, and not all buildings are forced to move on the 21st. We spread them out because there's going to be 3,800 of you, 3,700 of you students times parents and families helping out. So that's a large group of people to come in through and parking and stuff. So to make parking easier, to make our volunteers be available to help out with that, we spread it out in those 2 days. The scheduling and everything will be sent out in late July, early August, when you need to sign up for it. Students will need to sign up for a check-in time, so they'll have an opportunity to choose between the hour within that window block. So, for example, the window block for morning of Thursday will be from 8 to 11:30, and each hour is a window aspect and based on the building. So that information will also have a website or a link to moving information, which will have a list of bring, don't forget. Here's some things to think about.
You want to answer some of the questions?
Was it? Yeah, Q&A.
Okay.
So I'll jump in really quick. I
saw
saw
a question
about when will roommates be assigned, right? The roommate was not selected during the roommate selection process. So during the room selection process, the student will be able to select an empty bed space at that time, and whichever other student selects the empty bed space next to them, then they will be automatic roommates. If they decide to skip out on all of that, then we will go ahead and assign it for them. Another question that was on here is how long will the wait list remain open? We actually keep that open 2 weeks into the semester because we do see a high rate of cancellations during this time. So we normally keep it open 2 weeks into the semester just because of all those last minute cancellations. Okay, let's see, one more other question. Since the new dorms weren't available as a choice when we signed up, is there a chance to get into those now? So that is actually part of the double premium choice. So therefore, they were part of the selections. So when your students selected Hillside and Parkside as their choices, and if they selected a double premium, that means they are able to select from both La Playa, which is the new building, and Parkside North. So we already have those rooms accounted for as well. So the students, getting back to the roommate selection, during the roommate selection, if your student ended up meeting somebody or selected a roommate during that time, when the room selection process starts, at this point, we would expect the two students who are assigned as roommates to come together and talk about which village they prefer, because whoever has the first appointment to select their room will be able to select that specific room and pull in their roommate as well. The roommate will just have to accept, and they'll be automatically placed in that room. Also, very important things that I want to touch on is the FERPA form for the parents. If you call into the office and your child is over the age of 18, unfortunately, we cannot give you any information because your child is an adult already. Therefore, they would have to grant you guys permission to get specific information. So if they only want you to get financial information, they will check off that box. And I will add the link for that form on the Q&A. This way you guys can have it. So give me 1 second, I'll go ahead and add that. It's gonna be, if you go on the link that I'm about to send on the Q&A, it'll be the consent form. In this way, the student can sign it through their housing portal, and we'll be able to that way give you information.
Just to reiterate about the roommate and room selection process, if a student for some reason missed the period of when those were available, we'll auto assign based on what's available and open still. That includes if a student has no roommate in the room, someone will end up going to be placed in that second bed, so that would be their roommate, as well as those students who didn't select a room at all. They will be within their groupings that they were in. So, for example, if a student who is confirmed for a double premium and didn't select a room, they'll be put in a double premium where the opening is. Can't control what the roommate is going to be like. So it is important that the students had done the roommate selection, but if they didn't, they should do a room selection, which starts July 7th and it goes to the 9th. They're time slotted, and so we'll be sending those out again next week to let the students know when they can get access to it. And then, as Sari said, if they already have a roommate verified, they just search for a bed, the number of beds they're looking for in that room, and put one themselves in one and pull in the other.
Rashawn, could you talk a little bit about parking and parking passes for like residents? I know we have a few questions about when can folks buy parking passes and all of that fun stuff.
So that is my fifth favorite question of the day in housing. Parking is so students will be able to purchase their parking permit in early August. They get a list from us in terms of what students are in housing, which students are at beachside, etc. And then they open up the parking permits for students. Now, students who are in housing, whether they're beachside or parkside or hillside, they will need to purchase the residential parking permit. That allows their cars to be parked on overnight without any incident in terms of state regulations and stuff like that, because we are a state university. So uh, I forget what the cost is right now because I know prices over the years have gone up. So I'm sorry if I can't quote you the price, but do know that they will have it for the year. And I think on occasion they've had it for purchase per semester. So just keeping those options. But I think the residential ones, I think parking made it straightforward and said you buy parking permits for the year. Okay. Yeah, let's see what else. Oh, hopefully every student has already started doing their student health services updates of information in terms of vaccinations, immunizations, and things like that. If you're not sure what they should have provided or put into the patient portal, you can go to the Student Health Center website and look for student and housing bullet, and they'll tell you what items are in there that are required in order to live in housing. That includes the meningitis, I can't even say it. I'll just say meningitis, vaccination, and things like that. So keep an eye on that.
And I can drop that immunizations requirement in the chat as well for folks to access. I'll find that now.
Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, I know I saw a question about the wait list. We will keep the wait list up as far as we can and into sometimes even some years has been into the first couple of weeks of the semester, just because we'll find some students who decide at the very last minute or the day of move-in day or first day of school not to attend and neglect to tell us so we can cancel them out and pull the next person up. So we do our heavy work in terms of first week of school to double check who's moved in and who hasn't and follow up with those students as to why they're not moved in yet. And a lot of times those will yield some cancellations, and so we can pull people off the wait list. But our goal and our hope is that everything is cleared by the time moving comes in. But if you're still on the wait list, you know, just hang tight and hopefully we'll be able to pull some people because of those opening slots that happen. We are sending reminders to those students who are on the wait list to let them know that they are on the wait list, because some students will find apartments and forget to cancel off the wait list. So we're always trying to update our wait list to make it its true nature in order to be able to assist those students.
So I see a question on about the
Meningitis B. So yeah, as long as they get the first shot, because I know that one's a two-parter. As long as they get the first one, and have an appointment for the second one, they're okay. So you don't have to worry about that. Just update it in the student health checklet on your student single sign-on. And sometimes they'll ask if if you have an appointment for your second dose, but you should be okay.
It seems like we have quite a few questions about the room selection process and the roommates room process. Could we just go over that one more time?
So the roommate selection process already ended. That ended on June 15th. So the students should have already selected a potential roommate. We're in the process of verifying all of those groups. And then the room selection process starts on July 7th, and that goes on till the 15th. So they're gonna have a time slot, essentially. It's almost like an appointment time where they will be able to select their room. I'm sorry, that's 7th through the 9th, not the 15th. I'm confusing it with the roommate selection. So it'll be July 7th through July 9th, where they'll be able to get an appointment, which we will be sending out to them by next week. And they'll be able to log in, see the which village they would like to live in, which building, and then they select their room like that. If they have a roommate, they essentially will, whoever gets the first appointment of them two will select the room, and they'll be able to pull in their roommate. If they did not select a roommate, however, they can still select a room as long as there is an open bed space.
I'm seeing a few questions about the move-in days and times and what is able to be brought into the rooms. Maybe we could just touch on this. I also want to let folks know, I'll turn on my camera. I also want to let folks know that we have another webinar with the housing team in August. I believe it's on August 5th, where we will be talking about all things move-in. So if that is something that interests you, please join in for that webinar as well, but we can touch on it briefly as part of this webinar.
So in terms of bringing stuff for your room and everything, like I mentioned before earlier, is that you obviously will bring your the essential needs like clothes, school items, school books, laptops, computers are fine. You don't need to bring a landline because everybody's got cell phones, so we're not going to be talking about that one. You can bring a desk lamp. That's not, there are central lights in the room, and then a lot of the desks have lights on them. But some students like a certain type of lamp or whatever when they're reading or whatever. That's perfectly fine to do. Bring hangers. A lot of people forget to bring hangers when they're doing their closets and stuff. So hangers are a good thing. And then let's see what else. No lava lamps, no right crack pots are allowed, right?
Crock pot.
No crock pots, and no floor heaters and things like that. Don't bring an AC, and do not bring a refrigerator or microfridge. All the rooms have microfridges, which basically is a waist high refrigerator with a freezer section, separate freezer section, and on top of that, a mini microwave to be able to do. So this is shared by the roommates and things, so that no need to bring those. That's one less thing for the parents to have to haul it over into the room. So be thankful for that. Also want to bring in, it's been a while since I've been in the hall, so let me try to recheck here. So bedding is another thing you want to bring. All our beds are twin longs, so make sure you have bedding that is twins, long in terms of the mattress and everything. Some students will bring everything they need to keep warm when the winter comes. So blankets, comforters, pillows will need to be brought. All the bedding items you need there. Toiletry items, bathroom, toothbrush, toothpaste, all those things. Think of it as you're going on vacation for a long period. What are the items you're going to need to pack?
So I
So
saw
I
a
a
question
question
if
if
the
the
student
student
wants
wants
to
to
lock their bed, please do not.
do that. Your bed is set to a standard height. There is a drawer underneath. Therefore, the student's not allowed to make the bed higher because that's risk of falling and hurting yourself. And also, you cannot lower it because there is something underneath it. Unless the student needs some sort of accommodation where the bed needs to be lowered, they would have to go through BMAC, and then our facilities team will take over. But please do not uh, change the height of your bed or the desk or any of the furniture. It's going to be set the way it is already and it's going to be ready for move-in. As far as the packing list, what to bring that Roshan was going over, I did add the PDF of what to bring and what not to bring, just as a guide. I know the students are going to be getting it soon, but I already added the link as well. And like again, like Roshan mentioned, the bed size is a twin XL. And Lori, I see, can you bring an air fryer? No, you cannot bring an air fryer. Um, the only, I guess, small appliance you can bring is like a small Keurig for 1 cup. Um, just because also we don't want these keep in mind these buildings are old and they can have the breakers can pop off if too much power is being used. Um, so yeah, an air fryer is not allowed. Yes, so to confirm, people in or students that got a triple, it is only going to be at Beachside, which is the Pacific or Atlantic buildings. Both of those are located inside Beachside.
Could you all talk a little bit about the housing payment? And I know we have a couple of questions about payment plans or when folks should be expecting to pay for housing or, yeah, any of those dates or things like that.
Yeah. So payment plans are set up automatically. So the student charges will be placed in August and they'll be broken down with their meal and room charge broken down into 4 for the fall semester and 4 in the spring semester. So if you're wanting to calculate your own payment plan, get an idea so you can start saving per month and everything budget wise, take the meal plan that you chose and the room type that the student is going to be generally in. You take those two numbers and add them up together and then divide it by 8. That's your general close on the nail spot of your meal of your payment plan. So we do offer for those students who want to get it all done and out of the way, pay in full option. That will be sent out in an email and how to calculate that and everything. And is usually due before before moving day by moving day. So those will be sent out soon. So students have that, but that's for the full academic year. So the payment plan only comes with a one-time $40 installment fee. And that's already taken care of when you did your initial payment of $275. Part of that goes towards that as well as the social fee. The remaining balance goes towards the first month's payment. So you're looking at $115 going towards the first month payment, while the other 100 is for the social fee and the installment fee. If you pay in full, you're saving yourself $40. Um, there is transportation from beachside to campus to beachside. We have the campus shuttle system, as well as the Long Beach Transit buses that are very close to those stops near it and around the block that go on campus. There are several lines that come to our campus, so it's definitely something to look at. I believe Parking and Transportation Services may have some information on which lines and where they go. And if a student doesn't have a car and is using the bus transportation to get around, whether it's to be to campus or maybe any area in the neighborhood, they do offer tap card services, which you would have to pay for. But that gives you a one-time payment, and then you're able to use that numerous rides into any of that particular metro, so like Long Beach Transit. Hi, Melanie, I like your question about cleaning. Yes, students are responsible for cleaning their room, bathroom rise in terms of the showers and toilets and floors and stuff like that. That is done by our custodial services. So all the areas that are covered by our staff services is basically what I just mentioned in the bathrooms, the hallways and the lobby areas and the lounges. The rooms themselves is the students' responsibilities. So they're going to be as clean as you taught them how to clean. So keep that in mind. And I know all you parents that did a wonderful job, and so these rooms will be immaculate when they're living there and along with their roommate.
So
I
I
have
have no
a
question.
question. I accidentally pressed that it was answered, but a parent was asking, or somebody was asking if they can move from a double standard to a double plus or double premium. So unfortunately, no, we're not doing any changes anymore. And also, double premium, it is the most popular selection for all students. So keep in mind, we had just this year alone, we had about 2,500 students request a double premium, and unfortunately, we only have about 700. So nobody seems to be canceling out of those because once they get it, then they kind of stick to it. So again, like Roshan mentioned earlier, if we have enough cancellations to the point where we can start moving students into different room types, we will open up a wait list for room types. But the students will get that information at a later date, depending on the cancellations we receive.
Sorry, my volume control is being a little weird. So there was a question about layouts for the buildings and stuff. There are found on our website under housing layouts. The playa I just sent to our tech team, so they should be putting that up soon, and it should be ready definitely before a room selection process, which again is July 7th through the 9th. So the room selection process allows you to go into the system through the portal to select the building that you're preferring in terms of what you're uh, confirmed for. So if you're in a double standard, you'll be able to look at all the letter buildings, A through F and G through Q, in Parkside, and A through F in Hillside, and including not including the thematic communities. And then you can see what rooms pop up, and then you can go and look and say, okay, this room has two because I have a roommate, 2 beds available. I'll select that room and then assign yourselves. And once you hit submit and confirm everything, that's pretty much set and done, and that room won't show up for anybody else in terms of selection process. So um see. Matthew, yes, you can bring a pedestal fan, you can bring a small fan in terms of floor fan and everything. Keep in mind that these rooms are with 2 students and stuff, so the quieter the fan, the better. Each room does have circular fans in them, so that will help. I have seen students who get one of those mini fans that they can clip onto the edge of their bed so that it's, cooling them while they're sleeping or sitting on their bed and studying. So those are fine. So Laura, I believe we already answered this question, but the due dates are posted in the chat as well as found on our website, on the housing website. So you can definitely look at that. We don't have a slide for that just yet. Sorry, it's getting to the questions before I even finish reading them, so I'm trying to get fast. So George, that's a good question. If you have two students who are friends, whatever, they miss the roommate selection process and want to be roommates, the best way to do it is to make sure they communicate with each other, saying that whoever is able to get in first based on their time slot, that they communicate, hey, I got this room, double check when you go in and select the other bed so they can put themselves in that room. Unfortunately, once the roommate selection is done, there's no way for us to force the matches in that you're requesting. So the students will have to do it based on when they get into the room selection. Um, so there's that. So it would be smart to have the students do the room selection process during our room selection period, which is only from July 7th to the 9th. The window that the time slot that you get is the beginning start. So if some reason you get July 7th at 10 p.m., then you have July 7th all the way to 9 to 5 p.m. on July 9th to select a room. And then we break it down every so often and get closer. So majority of all the students will have a time slot between the 7th and early of the 8th, depending on our numbers, and how we break it up. So there's not a load on the system and crashing in, that would be a problem. Then you guys will all be calling us and we're trying to keep that from happening. So unfortunately, there's not a way to request a different time or different date in terms of room selection, room time slots. Okay. In regards to transportation, you don't have to have a car. If you have a car, then you get a parking permit. If you don't have a car, you get dropped off and unloaded and everything. And then bus services, Long Beach Transit is the best one to look. It comes on campus, is around campus, right on the edges of the border of the campuses, and gets through Long Beach and a little bit up and almost even to Cerritos, where the Cerritos Mall is, things like that. I believe you can get those bus schedules. Easiest way is the bus schedules on the app, the Long Beach Transit app. But if you want a hard paper aspect book, you can get those at the parking services has had them in the past, so they may have some still. But also look on their website, Long Beach Transit. The shuttle services, the campus shuttle services also has an app to be able to see where they are and location of the campus to your next stop or the stop you're at. So we have always have seen some students, casually walking right when the bus gets there because they have been looking at the app to see when the bus is coming. And so that's another good way to keep track of timing and stuff like that. I will do a nice fair warning in regards to the first couple of weeks of school. First couple of weeks of school, everybody is getting in, everybody's trying to figure out where things are. So it's very important you remind your students to like plan a little bit more time in the beginning, just so in terms of travel, finding parking if they're traveling. If you're non-residents, if you're a residence and housing, it's just a matter of like planning it well in terms of the shuttle services and getting to campus. Walking distance from Parkside Service Center to the main campus takes an average about 15-20 minute walk. If you're a quick walker, then obviously less. So,
But with that being said, although it is a 15-minute walk to and from, please remember
No e-scooters, no e-bikes allowed in the dorms. Just want to make that very, very clear. Again, I know they touched on it already, but we've had to put out fires due to these batteries overcharging and overheating in the rooms. So again, please, 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 no e-scooters or no e-bikes allowed.
there was a quick question about meal plans. If you already picked one and that's what you got, we do allow meal plan changes in the first week or so, the first week of the semester. So there will just be a form for that to fill out when they get here. And then also the last 2 weeks of the fall semester to be changed for spring semester. So there are some periods to do it, but during the semester, after those periods, the meal plan is what you're on. That meal plan you chose or have is the meal plan you're on.
There was a question asking if they can hang things on the wall using
keys as opposed to nails. So they can use command strips. They can use double stick tape. Now keep in mind that a lot of the times they do come off and remove the paint. So we still have to be mindful of that in order for your student not to get charged damages. Also, I know in a lot of the movies, they show students putting tapestries on the wall. Those are not allowed. You cannot have tapestries hanging from the wall, as cool as they might look. Unfortunately, we cannot have those. It's just a hazard. So no tapestries, please. And then there was a question about mail and package deliveries. So those, each village, depending on what village your student is housing on, will have a designated address. So they'll get that information once they select what village they're going to be living in. And please do not ship anything prior to the student moving in, as we will not accept it. They have to be already moved into the halls in order for them to start getting packages. So unfortunately, you can't start shipping things here to prep them for move-in. That would get very chaotic. So once they get their village, they will also get an email with all of that information on how they can start shipping things to their dorm.
That's right, about
No, I
student
got
health.
it. There was a question regarding to like what measures we have in terms of a place in case of a in dorm fighting or arguments and stuff like that. We do have the resident assistants who are there to mediate and help with conflict resolutions, and above them is also our RLCs and ACs. If for whatever reason a security or concern in terms of physical fight or everything happens, they are there's no stopping the student to call 911. We have the university police, which is literally on the corner of our campus. And they respond to our areas within minutes, as long as they're not already responding to something outside of the campus. But if a student is having problems because they're not getting along with their roommates or things like that, we do ask them to try and talk to each other about it. And then if it's still not working out, then they can start talking to the RA to set up a meeting to mitigate and discuss things. We'll know that within the first month of the semester, the RAs will be going around or reaching out to the students in each rooms to do what we call a roommate agreement. And it asks us basic questions that, most people don't even think about, like, hey, at home, like if I oversleep my alarm, my wife's gonna wake me up because I need to get somewhere. But if it's a stranger in your room that you're not used to yet, that agreement will say, hey, if my alarm goes off, please let me know, or say, you know, turn it off and don't worry about it, things like that. Some other things like if I put stuff in the fridge, I don't want you using it, or I do want you using it, or I don't mind. It's just a community thing, things like that. So those questions do come up in the roommate agreement, and so help that dialogue of conversation to begin with the new pairing of students.
Okay, we are officially at time, so I want to make sure that we are conscious of everybody's time. Thank you all so much for joining us for today's Beach Connection session. I'm about to drop a few links in the chat for you all. So the first one is for parent and family orientation. If you have not attended parent and family orientation, there's no better time than the present to sign up. We do parent and family orientation every day over the summer, Monday through Friday. Our next sessions begin July 7th. So if you'd like to join us, please do. The second link is for the Beach Family newsletter. So that's where we post all of our information for parents and families, and you receive information every 2 weeks. So please sign up for that. And then this presentation has been recorded. It will be posted onto our parent and family YouTube page come tomorrow. So please take a look at those things if you want to review this at a later time. But I just want to say thank you so much to our housing team, Rashawn and Sarai, for coming and joining us and sharing your wisdom here with the group. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I'm not sure if there's anything else you guys want to say before you leave.
You're very welcome. And if you have any specific housing questions, by all means, email us at the housing office. Our front office team and everybody can answer those basic questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.